Back when the Pokemon Company announced their 25th anniversary stream in February, the entire community had a collective thought on their mind. And considering you already know what I'm talking about because you actually clicked on this video, it was probably a thought you also had. Gen 4 remakes have been an ask since the first hour after Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire dropped. So when the actual stream finally began, and it started with a nostalgic run through of the entire franchise, that was basically confirmation of everything we wanted being revealed. So when that big ass bulky DS came on screen, we were ready for the culmination of 7 years of waiting, and oh my god, whoa, okay, so some people had some issues with this reveal trailer. The largest one being, why does it look like that? Now, normally, the Pokemon community at this moment would collectively go, Game Freak, please fix this, but Game Freak actually aren't the ones developing this game. In a move that seems like it was a really long time coming, Game Freak actually outsourced the development of this game to an entirely separate studio, ILCA. This, in some ways, makes this the first non-Game Freak mainline Pokemon game. And to be completely honest, it's not exactly the best foot forward that we could have been presented with, especially based off of that first trailer. Clearly the game was unfinished and needed quite a bit of polishing before it was ready to release. So over the course of the following months, we received periodic updates, some of which came from a few seconds of gameplay and a launch trailer for the Switch OLED, and eventually we got trailers, and then the game came out on November 19th. Yes, I'm aware the full game leaked more than a week before it was supposed to be released, but I'm not going to rag on a game's bugs or missing features at a time when you're not even supposed to be able to play it. Now, originally I had the idea to make this a actual game review, which I haven't done for a long while on my channel, but ILCA stated multiple times throughout the marketing cycle for this game that this was a faithful remake, and what that means is that this is essentially Pokemon Diamond and Pearl released again in the year 2021. And that's not a bad thing. I love Diamond and Pearl, and it's a huge point of nostalgia for me, but can you start to see the issue here? If you're going to choose to remaster Diamond and Pearl, why not just remaster Platinum? The superior version to each of these games released back in 2009. So, video over. Pokemon Platinum is clearly the superior version, and thus the remakes are a completely wasted opportunity, is what I would say if they didn't make changes here and there to actually improve the game. See, the title of Faithful Remake is really bent around here, because obviously with ILCA remaking the game, they saw fit to change things, which is a good thing. Pokemon Diamond has some very obvious flaws that, if fixed, could really serve to improve the game, but from how they seem to fix things, ILCA is willing to concede a lot of things on the idea of a completely faithful remake, right up until they decide to change something for the sake of convenience. And I'm not complaining, a lot of these changes are really good. The effective removal of HMs by just making them available to use through the Poketch, the EXP share being added to improve the grind, I'll talk about its implementation in this game later, and the speed of the overall game being improved. But through all of this, they still choose not to make Flash a thing I can use with the Poketch, and force me to use up a move slot on one of my Pokemon for maybe 3-4 uses throughout the entire game. What's the thought process behind giving Giratina his battle theme? A good thing, by the way, I'm not saying it's bad, but not giving the Battle Frontier Brains their theme. This theme is easily one of Sinnoh's best, so choosing not to include it is just really weird for me. They've also modeled a lot of terrain and rooms off of Pokemon Diamond instead of the rooms that were improved in Pokemon Platinum. All of these changes are ultimately harmless, but why not model the Galactic HQ after Platinum's improvements instead of the boring designs in Diamond and Pearl? Why not give Cynthia and the rest of the Elite Four their cooler Platinum rooms? The largest thing they chose not to fix was easily one of Sinnoh's biggest flaws. When you think of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, what are the two largest flaws with these games that comes to mind? One, these games were way too fucking slow, and two, all of the fire types had gone extinct. ILCA already fixed one flaw, why stop there? Giving these versions the advantage here and choosing the one with the most fire types available before you beat the game, Shining Pearl features a total of 4 fire-type Pokemon for you to choose from. Chimchar, Magmar, Ponyta, and Houndoom. That's it. Look at how many fire types you're able to catch once you beat the game. Take any of these dudes and throw them in a route somewhere, I don't know, but why not fix this? I mean, because of this, Flint, the fire-type specialist Elite Four member, has his team from Diamond, which features a whopping 2 fire types. That's not even the majority of his team. And what really irks me is that they're willing to give him his Platinum team after you've beaten the game. And while we're on the topic of Platinum teams, why is Barry throwing out a level 26 Starly when I'm at my 4th gym badge? They fixed this in Platinum by giving him a Staravia instead. Just give him his Platinum team here. I don't get why you wouldn't. To talk about Pokemon you can catch though, it's satisfying that as long as you own both Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, you can actually complete the Pokedex on your own without having to transfer Pokemon in from other games. The EXP share is another thing that wasn't in the original games, technically, but you know what I'm talking about. And while yes, this is another knock to that whole faithful moniker, I'm past caring about the EXP share in these games. Obviously, Game Freak is dead set on it being a staple of the franchise, not that it's a bad thing. I just wish they'd balance balanced the game accordingly around this massive feature that you cannot turn off. Almost consistently throughout the entire game, I was about 9 to 10 levels above every single trainer I fought. And this is without doing any grinding. All I did was fight every Pokemon trainer I saw on a route. This can be attributed to them not wanting to mess around with any levels at all, keeping them the exact same way as they appeared in Pokemon Diamond, but I brought up Barry's team because by the time I'm fighting his level 26 Starly, I have a level 37 Staraptor on my team. And what's crazy is that with the Grand Underground being the new addition to this game, the Pokemon you battle down there are actually scaled correctly to where you're at in the game. It almost makes me feel stupid for essentially bullying these trainers with underleveled Pokemon when I can just go into the Grand Underground and fight wild Pokemon that at times are at a higher level than my own and are also sometimes fully evolved, giving me much more experience than I would get if I were to waste my time fighting some dude who still has a Wurmple this far into the game. Contests have been completely gutted, giving even more of a strain on the whole moniker of a faithful remake. Graphically, the game looks like okay, but whoever decided to just blur everything not within the immediate center view of the camera is probably insane for thinking it looks good. Following Pokemon still managed to suck more than a decade after the feature was introduced. Admittedly, this is much better than Sword and Shield's follow system, and they'll eventually figure out how to do it correctly one day, I'm sure, but this feature was already perfected back in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and it's only gotten worse since. The scale of some of the Pokemon is pretty funny. Most of it, I assume, has to do with the art style, which I'll get more in depth with in a bit. My largest issue is that some Pokemon are still way too slow, so while you're just running at a normal speed, a lot of the Pokemon that you'd think would be able to keep up with you instead just start popping in and out, so all you hear is the sound of your Pokemon getting in and out of its Pokeball constantly. Also, they can just body block you, which is weird because you'd think ILCA would have just made it so that follow Pokemon are always behind you when you don't want to talk to them, just like in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and just like they do with the NPCs that follow you in this game, but I guess not. Also, since I kind of mentioned the movement of this game's joystick controls are weirdly bad. I feel like the controls of the 3DS games and even Sword and Shield were absolutely fine, but for some reason I managed to bump into everything around me on a constant basis. At first I assumed it was just a skill issue and that I just hadn't really played a 3D Pokemon game in a couple years, but after messing around with the game, I realized that it doesn't act like every other 3D Pokemon game. In the 3DS games and Sword and Shield, the terrain of the game was built around the idea of using a joystick, and you'd instead snap to a grid when you'd use the D-pad. In the new games, the terrain is built around using a grid, because while this might look like something you could walk through diagonally, there's actually just a bunch of invisible corners jutting out, making it nearly impossible. I mentioned before that graphically the game looks okay, and it really does. Like, the blur is pretty bad, but the overall look of the game combined with the art style actually work. I was extremely hesitant to believe that I'd get used to the art style of this game, but it's really not that bad at all. There was honestly only one time where the art style really retracted from the game, and it was anytime Cyrus is on screen talking about his evil plans, because I just couldn't take a dude who looks like this seriously at all. The one thing they absolutely nailed in this game was the water. It looks absolutely fucking beautiful throughout every single moment in the game. I would say they nailed all of the battle backgrounds in the game, but there are some that are really disappointing compared to what we're shown in-game that they're capable of doing. Like, some of these backgrounds are beautiful, and even something as common as the galactic battle background was made really well. So when you're put into an empty void background in this game, it's extremely noticeable. Again, if you can make backgrounds that look this good, don't hold out on us. Give us as many backgrounds as possible. Also, I didn't know where to include this, but I'm really sorry to all the people who chose Pearl and got to look at Palkia's battle background, which was just kind of a boring blue sky. Dialga's background is just infinitely cooler. A lot of the newer music is kind of hit or miss for me. Some of these tracks will probably grow on me, so my opinion might change, but I feel like for a lot of these tracks, it's lacking the power behind the music in the DS versions. It's not all of the tracks. Like, for example, Mount Coronet is remade beautifully and is without a doubt better than the originals. But for some really important tracks like Giratina's theme, Cynthia's battle theme, and the theme for the legendary trio, they're noticeably lacking the same punch that they had in the DS. It's obviously not for a lack of trying. These are definitely some of the hardest themes to replicate from the DS, but my poor baby Route 210 got shafted. The DS version of this is just so much better, and I'm really sad about it because I was really looking forward to hearing it remade. I appreciate that they included the DS sounds item once you beat the game, so you can run around the region with the original DS music playing, but it doesn't sound like the original DS music at all. I don't know exactly what's changed with it, but it sounds off. And at first I assumed they were replicating what it would sound like if the music was played directly from the DS speakers, but I opened up my DS Lite and went to these routes and they do not sound the same at all. Overall, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are brand new entries into the Pokemon series, even if they're remakes. And because of that, a lot of the issues I have with these games can also be applied to a lot of the other games in the franchise. Are these games bad by any means? No, of course not. They were pretty fun to play through, and like usual with almost every Pokemon game, I enjoyed playing through the story, battling trainers, and catching Pokemon the same way I've been doing it for nearly 15 years. At the end of the day, I'm probably going to get a lot of comments telling me that I shouldn't be complaining about the differences between Diamond and Pearl and Platinum because these games are faithful remakes of Diamond and Pearl, not Platinum. And going off of that, these games are absolutely amazing remakes of Diamond and Pearl that manage to capture and subtly update those games to bring them into the modern age, and are amazing ways to reintroduce people to the Sinnoh region. That doesn't mean it was the correct choice to make. Game Freak already agreed with themselves that these were not the complete versions of Sinnoh that they wanted to make, and that's why they made Platinum. There's a clear-cut reason Platinum is consistently considered one of the best games in the franchise over its other two versions, and I feel like it's a wasted opportunity to not just remake the better game.